The Ghost of Christmas Future by Curtis S. Arnold. It was approximately 7:30 when she received the first message. Malena was in the middle of eating breakfast, as today was a busy day. She had to get up at 7 o'clock and go to work on Christmas Eve, and then come home to make tons of cookies to put out for Santa. Her little brother believed that Santa Claus existed, so Malena had to make sugar cookies every year and put them decoratively on a glass tray and set it on a wooden bar stool for the imaginary gift bringer to eat. What was funnier is the fact that the two-story house had no chimney. Malena ignored the text. She finished her cereal, chugged down the rest of her orange juice, grabbed the keys to her Chevy, and ran outside into the bitter, frosty Michigan air. The cold nipped at her ears and nose as she made her way to the second garage, in which her car was kept during the snowy evenings. She opened the door, and the snow blew in faster than she could shut it. She got into the car, put the keys in the ignition, and it grumbled for a second, but with another turn of the key, the engine turned over and the car started. She hit the automatic garage door opener and rolled onto the gravel driveway. When she got to the road, her phone dinged again. It was the all-too-familiar sound, notifying her that an incoming text had been received. She ignored it again, trying to concentrate on the road. As she was turning onto West Lake, the phone dinged again. She glanced down at it and stared at it for a second, as if considering to answer it. She looked up, just in time to see the pickup truck barreling towards her. Malena swerved in time to miss the oncoming threat and the ditch that she would have been in if she'd swerved in the wrong direction. She arrived at work at the cafe at approximately 8 o'clock and proceeded to punch in. She went to her boss to see what was to be done at such an early time of the day when there were little to no customers. She was instructed to brew 3 fresh pots of coffee, clean the work surfaces, and any dishes that had been left from last night. Since there were no dishes, she cleaned the countertops and made 3 fresh pots of coffee. Few customers ever came in this early, but the coffee was ready when they did. At 9:30, she received another message. She ignored it again, knowing that if her boss caught her texting while working, she would get written up. So she waited until 12 o'clock, which was her lunch break, to look at the 3 texts that had come to her over the course of the last 5 or so hours. She unwrapped her sandwich, lifted it to her mouth, and took a bite. It burst with juices of ham and turkey, and she thought she'd never tasted a sandwich so good. She set it down, and grabbing her phone from the back pocket, entered her password and thumbed up to the first message. It read, "It's you, Malena. It's me. It's me." Odd, thought Malena. Who is this? Then she thumbed to this next message. It also read, "It's me. It's me. It's me." Okay, thought Malena, this is annoying. I'll just use star 69 and call them back. She hit star and the numbers 6 and 9. The phone made a dial tone and went straight to an automated voicemail. She tried again, but to no avail. She then thumbed up to the third text. This time, it was different than the others. This one said, "You will die in a car crash on Christmas Eve at 5 o'clock. I'm the ghost of Christmas future." Okay, now this is just stupid, she thought. It's probably just a prank text. Malena received texts like these every year, and nothing bad ever occurred. She blew it off and deleted all of the texts. She threw away the plastic wrap that her sandwich had been in, stood up, and putting her phone in her purse, walked back into the kitchen. As she crossed the threshold from the break room to the workspace, her phone dinged again. She knew it was technically still her break, and as she was returning early, she grabbed the phone from her purse and thumbed up to the message. "You're not listening, Malena. You're not listening. It's me. It's me. It's me." Malena had to admit that it was getting a bit scary at this point. None of the other texts in the years previous had been so insistent, nor as vicious. Malena turned her phone to the off position and proceeded to work. She cooked food for an elderly couple, a lunch consisting of grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. She was cleaning those dishes when her phone buzzed. She had been sure it was turned into the off position. She grabbed a nearby towel, dried her hands with it, and against her boss's wishes, grabbed her phone from her purse. Malena tapped the phone and brought up the message. "You've been warned, Malena." You've been warned." Malena was afraid now. She knew she had turned the phone off previous to going back into the kitchen an hour and a half before. She was sure of it being off, for it hummed in her hand, and the screen was black and unresponsive. She was absolutely sure it had turned off. She turned it off again, thumbed the screen, and it was unresponsive. Nothing turned on. No messages popped into the display, and no sounds emanated from within. She put it back into her purse and zipped the top as she put it under the counter. She buried it with a couple of towels and went back to work. The more customers came in over the course of the next few hours. Then eventually no one came through the doors at all. 4:30 rolled in faster than it normally did. When she got out of the cafe at 4:30 and went to her car, it was windy and blisteringly cold outside. She nonetheless climbed into her car and cranked the heat to defrost the iced-over windows. She set her purse in the front seat. Her phone buzzed and hummed and rang all at the same time. This time she was determined to find out who it was, so she called the police. Her phone buzzed in her hand when she dialed the numbers. She slowly removed it from her face and looked at the bright screen. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, Malena." Malena threw down the cell phone. She wasn't stupid, but she wasn't going to let herself get killed by an anonymous threat. She put the car into reverse, backed out of the space, and slammed it into drive. She was going home. Her phone on the seat buzzed again and again and again, and the messages kept reading, "You're going to die, Malena! Malena, you're going to die!" She kept going, driving slightly over the limit of 45, and she turned hard onto North Avenue. She slammed it to 50 as the speed limit changed. Her phone dinged and buzzed to the point where it was a droning noise that beat in her ears like a large bass drum. She grabbed the phone, opened the glove box, and threw it into the compartment to conceal the noise. She was distracted too long and did not see the oncoming semi-truck rolling around the sharp curve. Too late to hear the horn honk, the metal crunch, and the glass shatter into bits and pieces like ice dropped from a high rooftop. But above the drone of the sound, the phone still buzzed, but this time came the slightest voice. It whispered, but could still be heard by Malena, and only by Malena. "I warned you, Malena. You didn't listen, Malena. You should have listened to me. I am the ghost of Christmas future. Welcome." Everything became a blur of white. Hot, intense light that shone everywhere around her. And then there was nothing. No light, but no dark either. Merely empty space. Then she stood, looking over her car, her body, the conscious truck driver, running over the scene, feelings of guilt running through his mind. The driver called 911. The first ambulance arrives at exactly 5:07. The dash of her now mangled car flashed the green fluorescent numbers. 5:00 p.m. The numbers flashed on and then off. A never-ending cycle of repetitive motion. 5:00 p.m. Then, what seemed from nowhere, a shrouded being showed up next to her. It stood and said nothing, yet at the same time said everything Malena already knew. She watched as a paramedic ran to her body, put fingers to her neck, and shook her head slowly, looking up at the truck driver, who was worried of the condition of the girl. He sat down on the cold pavement and cried. The man in the shroud led Malena into the white light. At the funeral, all friends and family gathered. Everyone was there, offering comfort, financial help to the mother and father of the deceased, and any other compensation that could be offered, but never used. All were there, as well as the man in the shroud, looking, prospecting, picking a weak soul to feed upon and eventually claim as his trophy, his soul. He wandered aimlessly, but with a cause. He said nothing, but meant everything. He wasn't seen, but he was known by many as the ghost of Christmas future. The end.